Julian Phillips and Modest Buzelis have huge nights for the Chicago Bulls as they beat the Washington Wizards. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today, the Chicago Bulls beat the Washington Wizards at home 119-89. And I think really the first key takeaway out of this is that the Chicago Bulls secured the 9th seed in this upcoming play-in. And so that is good to see that the Chicago Bulls have secured this seed, especially how they have done it this season with their young core. And so we're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win. And so before we go ahead and jump into that, I first wanted to remind you that 72.3% of you that are watching are not subscribed to the channel. So like Modest Buzelis did tonight, make sure that you slam dunk on that subscribe button. It means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the content for today. And so look, we go into the box score and we always start with the MVPs of the night. And so for me, there were two players that really stood out because I think that, coming into this game, we knew it was going to be interesting because Josh Giddey was resting. And then also too, we did not have Dalen Terry due to a calf injury. And then we've been talking about Trey Jones, Lonzo Ball, those guys have been out. But this was all about the young core. And I think that MVP number one for me, it has to go to Julian Phillips. Listen, Julian Phillips had a career night tonight. And I loved watching it tonight because this is exactly what I was talking about just a couple videos ago about just really the growth of Julian Phillips and just really why we should be excited for what we're seeing this season and just why we should be excited as Bulls fans moving forward next season, because this was one of the questions that we really needed to have answered, and we're seeing it on full display with Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry, these guys being able to step up. And I talked about the fact that, look, with Julian Phillips, you're going to have a guy that can definitely play a role off the bench, but can he be a player that can step in and give you a spot start? And tonight you saw that. Yes, I get it. It's against the Washington Wizards, but I think that this is what we're talking about as far as building confidence. And in tonight's game, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, plus 25, 7 of 11 from the field. He was 3 of 6 from downtown in 28 minutes. I loved his activity as far as the backdoor cuts, which led to a dunk. He also had, a nice other dunk in this game. The three-point shooting where he's getting to the corner, like that seems to be a signature for him. And again, you can just see the confidence of him just being a slasher, and then also too just being a guy that defensively can be an irritant out there as well for the Chicago Bulls. And like I said, I think that this is a performance in which Julian Phillips can continue to build off of. It was great to see him really take this opportunity and run with it. And so he's MVP number one for me. Next up, MVP number two is going to be our rookie, and that is Modest Buzelis. Look, I think that Modest Buzelis really showed us the entire package tonight. I mean, he scored, he defended well, he made plays, he got rebounds. He did everything that just we love about Modest Buzelis and why we're excited about him now and for the future. And so in this game, 20 points, 6 rebounds, he had 4 assists, and he had 3 blocks, plus 12 in the plus-minus box score. He was 7 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from downtown, 3 of 3 from the free throw line in 32 minutes. And so let's start with the block shots with Modest Buzelis tonight because those were with some authority, and I just love the fact that he continues to show that he is going to be a very good rim protector. I cannot wait until he grows and gets even more strength as a defender because you're not going to be able to even get that type of positioning on him. I think that he's going to be able to stop offensive players from getting to his spots, and I think he's going to be able to recover and really help our defense out a lot, especially as we get beat off ball. And so Modest Buzelis, super flashes tonight. I think, in fact, in this game, he's the only Bulls rookie now with 90-plus threes and 70 blocks in a season. So that just lets you know the impact that Modest Buzelis has had this season. And he didn't even start until the last half of the season. So I can only imagine where Modest Buzelis would be at with the numbers had he had gotten the minutes earlier on. But this guy, look, ton of upside, and I just cannot wait to see what he's going to do moving forward with this team. And so next, we go into the rest of the team and just talking about the key takeaways from tonight's game. And so let's go ahead and start with Vooch. And so, look, I think that Vooch was solid yet again tonight. Been talking about the fact that his role has changed somewhat with the Chicago Bulls. We don't just necessarily dump it down to him. It's a lot of stuff where he's trailing now into some dribble handoff stuff, but the activity was there. I thought he was putting a sequence of moves onto the young bigs of the Wizards tonight, really taking them to school. He had 15 points. He had 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He was plus 23. He was 7 of 15 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep in 28 minutes. So I think a solid performance for him. Next up, Coby White. Look, he was showing us a lot of different moves out there. I liked his little step through. I think it was either in the third or fourth quarter. That was very nice. So he had 16 points in this one, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He had a steal. He had 1 block. He was plus 30, 6 of 11 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep. He was 3 of 3 from the free throw line in 28 minutes. And so I think a light night for Coby White. But again, just showing you his ability to just get to certain spots on the floor, and it's just really opening up everything else on the offensive end. Kevin Huerter, not the strongest night offensively, but the activity across the board, you still love it. Had a nice dump down pass to Zac Collins that led to some free throws. And so it's just the basketball IQ that's showing with Kevin Huerter, and really why we love to see him now in this situation. I continue to talk about how he's starting to look a lot like he has when he was with the Atlanta Hawks, that team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals. You're seeing that type of impact. Look, 7 points in this, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, plus 12. No, it wasn't the best shooting night tonight. 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from downtown in 31 minutes. Don't worry about Kevin Huerter the least bit. I think he's going to be just fine. He made a ton of other things happen tonight for us. And so a solid game. And so next up, Zac Collins. And so Zac Collins, look, I liked his activity, especially just the movement off the ball. I talked about this just a moment ago with Kevin Huerter hitting him on a nice little wraparound pass off of the screen. And that's why we like Zac Collins. The athleticism that he brings up front for us, that is something that I think we could utilize with that team moving forward. And then also to this season, I think it's going to definitely play a big factor as we head into this play-in situation. And so 8 points tonight, 4 rebounds. He had 3 assists, a steal, plus 7. He was 3 of 5 from the field, 0 of 1 from deep in 20 minutes. So it was good to see that he got some more minutes tonight. Look, Patrick Williams, this is what we're talking about with him. Another game where he has 5 points. He has 3 rebounds, a steal. He had an assist, plus 7, 2 of 7 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3 in 23 minutes. Modest Buzelis had to get on him, I guess, on missing something here on the offensive end as well. And so, look, with Patrick Williams, look, it's just his floor cannot be this low. I think at some point in time, he's going to have to bring the floor up a little bit more and just be more of just a dependable source off of the bench and with his role. And so, I think that this was disappointing because THT, look, 12 points tonight, 1 rebound, 1 steal. He had 1 block. He had 4 assists in this game. He was plus 1, 3 of 9 from the field, 0 of 4 from downtown, and he was 6 of 8 from the free throw line. I think that was probably the biggest thing with THT tonight. It was his ability to get to the free throw line in 24 minutes. And I think that the thing that I love most about THT is just that he's been super professional. I think that there was a stat here earlier talking about how he had scored maybe 90 points in the last 7 games. Over the last 7 games, I believe that's what they were saying during the telecast. And so that just lets you know that the guy's just a bucket getter. And I think that he is probably going to have to play maybe a major role for this team moving forward here in this play-in situation and a possible playoff berth, because I'm not sure if Lonzo and Trey Jones are going to make it back. And I think that, look, if we need to go out there and get a bucket, then THT might have to be that guy off of the bench. And so he showed what he could definitely do as usual, scoring the basketball. And so next up, you had Javon Carter. Look, Javon Carter plus 15 in the plus-minus box score tonight. He definitely wasn't shy about shooting the basketball. He was 3 of 10, 13 minutes tonight, 2 of 8 from downtown, 8 points, 3 rebounds, and assists, plus 15. So Javon Carter, got to give him credit for going out there and getting his shots in tonight. And then just some notables. You had Emmanuel Miller play 3 minutes. You had Jameer Young. He got a three-pointer. I think he made his first and only shot, shooting a three-point shot. So that was good to see. 2 rebounds, plus 4 for him. EJ Liddell got in the game as well. And so, look, it's against the Washington Wizards. I get it. But, this team, what I liked most about it tonight is this was a win in which Billy Donovan had to rely on this younger core. And I know Josh Giddey was not out there, but the fact that he had to lean in on Julian Phillips and Modest Buzelis took a major step forward. I think that this is something from a confidence standpoint that as their roles expand with this team, I think that these are building block moments, and this is something that you just don't get in practices. It's not something that you get in the G League. This is NBA competition with something on the line. I mean, essentially they're playing for the seeding and whatnot, and the way that this team has been locked in, you get a chance to really get the feel for what it will be like as this team hopefully gets a lot better moving forward. And so a good win for the Chicago Bulls tonight. And so let's go ahead and jump into the team box score and look at the key takeaways from that. And so let's start with the rebounds here. So the Bulls dominate in that department, 54-41. I think that the activity level was great there for us. And so next up, turnovers. The Wizards turned the basketball over a lot, 18-13. It's a young team over there. A lot of younger players trying to figure some things out. So they lost the turnover battle. And then when you look at the block shots tonight, the Bulls, the activity was fantastic, 7-5 there. The Bulls lead in that category. Points in the paint, the Bulls dominated there, 52-36. Terrific job as far as getting paint touches tonight. 8-7 Bulls in steals, and so the activity level, that was great for us tonight defensively. 21-6 Bulls in the fast break points. I think that really might have been, the critical point of the night. And this is what you love about this team as a whole, just continuing to play with that identity, even though you do not have your starting point guard out there that definitely table sets for you. That just lets you know that habit and just the way that this team wants to play, it's ingrained into this team. And that's a great thing. They're getting an identity, 21-6 with the Bulls in the fast break department. Then when it comes down to the field goal percentage, 46.2 from the field for the Bulls, 31.7, so not as good from downtown tonight, but still pretty good field goal percentage. Comparatively speaking to the Wizards, who shot 38.5 and 24.4 from deep, they really struggled. And then when you look at the assists to field goals, 32 assists to 43 field goal makes for the Bulls, so that is not bad. That's some great quality right there. And so anyway, that is, again, a good solid win for the Chicago Bulls. Again, I know it's against the Washington Wizards, but I just think that just for the fact that we got a chance to see the younger players have to step up, Billy Donovan having to trust them, I think that that's a plus. I think just to add to the box score, and I think really a disappointment out of the night, is I wanted to see Jalen Smith play some more. I think he only played 4 minutes, and so I think that at some point Billy Donovan's going to have to utilize him. And then when it comes down to now with the players that sat out, I think that this is a terrific situation for them. They can get some fresh legs. I think that Wednesday we're slated to host the Miami Heat in that play-in situation. So hopefully, Josh Giddey, Dalen Terry, these guys will be ready. We'll see what happens with Trey Jones and Lonzo Ball if they're going to make an appearance. Going to be tough, especially with the season ended. Not enough time really to necessarily ramp up. And so I think that that's a situation to kind of monitor here. But some great stuff. And also, too, one more shout out to Vooch. I think he now gets 6,000 points, I think, as a Chicago Bulls. Yeah, so 6,000 points in a Chicago Bulls uniform. So shout out to Vooch, just being the constant professional. So definitely want to shout him out on that. And for the Chicago Bulls fans, look, number one in total and average attendance out there. That is something that was mentioned during the broadcast as well. So that is great to see that we're getting the attendance here. And at some point, We're going to be a contender again. I know it. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about the key takeaways from the Chicago Bulls beating the Washington Wizards tonight. And as we always say, go Bulls, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, peace.